Mullins coming on. He makes a sliding play.
A quick jump and really easily makes that play.
Into right center, another long run. Cedric Mullins gets there. Mullins dives and makes the catch. Primes one to center, Cedric Mullins.
Well, since returning from the alternate site, Cedric Mullins has done so well that Brandon Hyde said, make no mistake about it, he deserves to have the attention for a Gold Glove nomination this season. And he certainly has pushed his way into being the everyday starting center fielder for the Orioles in 2020, and I'm sure will be a candidate for the discussion of 2021 as well. But here to break down what makes Cedric Mullins so special and to take a look at this Orioles defense as a whole, now really excited to bring in researcher and reporter for MLB.com, Sarah Langs. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me back. It's great to chat with you.
Always. So one thing that's been, I would argue, a bigger statistic discussed this year, they seem to come in waves of popularity. Outs above average, though, and that's a place that Cedric Mullins in particular shines. But can you kind of break down into layman's terms outs above average for the fans sitting at home?
Yeah, so there are a handful of different defensive metrics, and there are the older school ones, perhaps like errors and, fielding percentage, things you might be aware of like that. But outs above average is one of a couple more advanced analytics that look to really quantify how a player does in the field. And outs above average is the StatCast one. So it's a range-based metric. So we're not talking about someone's arm. We're not talking about other elements of their defense. We're just looking at how well do they make the play? How well do they get that out or catch the ball? And it was introduced initially with outfield, and now we have it for infield as well, starting last year. And Cedric Mullins ranks really well here. So he has 4 outs above average in the outfield this year, which is tied for 6th most among outfielders. And obviously a lot of leaderboards are crowded this year, but look at those names ahead of him. Almost all of those are significantly very established outfielders. Trent Grisham, a little newer to the scene. Luis Robert also, but was known as a 5-tool player coming in. And Cedric Mullins is right behind those guys. And what this stat really does is it breaks down another stat, which we'll get to in a minute, which is called catch probability, and turns it into something that tells you how many outs he's helped with based on his play in the field. So one thing that plays a really big role here is something like speed. And I think that any Orioles fan would know just watching him, he's definitely a speedy guy. He might not be Tim LeCastro, the fastest guy in the majors, but he's also nowhere near the bottom of the leaderboard with speed. And that's something that really plays a role, especially for outfielders, when you think about making those outstanding plays.
Well, and that's something that I think is really interesting is the fact that, like you said, it has nothing to do with how good their arm is. It doesn't take into the tools of the player themselves personally. But what about catch probability? Does that actually relate back to the player personally? And then how does that correlate into outs above average?
Yeah, so catch probability just looks to break down the likelihood that a player, an outfielder, would make a play on any batted ball. So it's based on opportunity time, and it's based on distance needed and then the direction that they had to go. So opportunity time starts when the pitcher releases the ball. So that's how much time did he have to make the play. That's a pretty simple concept. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel with that. Distance needed is the shortest path to the ball. So sometimes you see guys take some interesting routes in the outfield, and this will appropriately maybe penalize for going a little bit out of your way. But if you still make the catch, you made the catch. And catch probability is on a percentage scale. So 0 to 25 is a 5-star catch. Those are really, really good catches based on this. 26 to 50 is 4-star, and then so on and so forth. You get to 3-star, 2-star, and the other plays. So what outs above average is it takes that catch probability into account for every single play, and then adds that all up, and that's how you get an out above average. So you would get like 0.75 for making a play based on a certain catch probability. But you don't need to look at it and try to break it down by those different catches. They're separate things, but they work together.
And I think something that the fans absolutely love latching onto is when you get into the ratings. This guy is an 80 grade this or 40 grade this. So that being said, 5-star catches, and as you just mentioned, they can go all the way down to 1-star catches, something that, most players should be able to get to. Cedric Mullins has had a couple 5-star catches this year. How special is that?
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. And I don't know, I love when you see a play happen like that and I check the metrics and it's a 5-star catch. It's just so much fun to put 5 stars out there, right? So here's a play that he made on Xander Bogaerts in the end of August. This had a 15% catch probability. So that was based on the amount of distance that he needed to cover in order to make this catch and the amount of time he had. So he only had 3.2 seconds to make that one. And here's another from Anthony Santander. This one was 20% catch probability. He needed to cover 84 feet to make this one, and he had 4.8 seconds to do that. So that's not a lot of time, and we can all process that. And that's starting when the pitcher releases the ball. So not every home run robbing catch is going to be a 5-star catch. I think that that's something that often when those plays happen, people want to see the catch probability there, and it's not necessarily what you would want it to be. But if you think about the types of catches that are going to rate well here, they're catches where a guy has to go a really long way in a pretty short amount of time, which is what most really good catches are. If you think about a guy laying out, making a crazy dive, something like that, it's all based on how far do I have to go and how much time do I have to do it.
That is absolutely a phenomenal breakdown of what's been going on with this Orioles defense. Again, Sarah Langs, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me on. Thank you.